Welcome back to Politics Nation. Joining me now is Mayor of Sanford, Florida, Jeff Triplett. Mr. Mayor, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
What's the reaction from Sanford residents today now that George Zimmerman has been arrested and made his first court appearance?
I think everybody took a deep breath and exhaled, and you know, now it's in the prosecutor's hands. So it's just one piece of the puzzle that is off the city of Sanford, and you know, it's in Jacksonville with a very competent attorney.
Now, that competent attorney released today the affidavit of probable cause, and there was frankly nothing in that affidavit that the police did not know in Sanford. Are you disappointed that the chief said in Sanford that he didn't have evidence for probable cause, and now that this is released, she's using basically the stuff they already knew as the basis for probable cause for her arrest?
I find it very interesting, and I had a couple of meetings on that today. You know, we've called for a review of the process and what transpired that night and the decisions that were made. I know that they walk hand in hand. Our police department walks hand in hand with the state's attorney. So I'll look forward to hearing from the investigation and the review as to what truly transpired.
Yeah, because it's very interesting. But and you fought to have the 911 tapes released, and there was some pushback. Do you think someone was trying to hide something?
I don't know the answer to that. I was just trying to go down the path to do what I felt was right. I still to this day think that it was the right move to make. And you know, Ms. Corey said a couple of words that there's been some leaks about this, and you know, it's in her hands now. Let her go down the path, do what she needs to do with her team. And you know, we've got a lot of work to do in the city of Sanford to start the healing process. We got a lot of good men and women of the Sanford Police Department that have you know, suffered a little bit of this also, and you know, we've called for full investigations and review, and that's all I can really say right now. We're a little bit in between on having those done, but I can guarantee we're going to take corrective actions if it comes in that we did something.
Well, I thank you for that, and I thank you for those 911 tapes. I agree with you there, and I think you're right. We need a healing process, and we need justice to get it. Mayor Jeff Triplett,
well,
thanks.
Thank you very much.
And now we will take a closer look at State Attorney Angela Curry, the woman who made a strong decision entirely on her own in the most high-profile criminal case in the country. She reportedly decided on second-degree murder charges last week and spent the days since making sure everything was in place for her announcement. Curry seems confident in her case, and her record shows why. In her first 18 months as state attorney, Angela Curry won 90% of felony cases she faced. And of cases that went to jury, she won 83%, well above the state average. As one defense attorney said, quote, if you're being prosecuted by her, you need to be scared and you need to get the best defensive lawyer you can find. Joining me now from Gainesville, Florida, is Teresa Sapa, criminal defense attorney, who's known Angela Curry and faced off against her in court for the last 30 years. Teresa, thank you for joining me tonight. Was that news conference last night classic Angela Curry that we were watching?
Well, I thought the news conference was very well done. I thought Ms. Curry did a very good job. She made her points very effectively. I think that she overlooked one of the facts about the Stand Your Ground law that we can talk about later. But I thought she marshaled her staff and gave an excellent report to the media and to the country that was waiting to hear from her. I thought she did a great job.
Now, as one that has faced off with her and known her, do you think she would have come with this kind of charge if she was not confident she had the evidence to back it up?
I don't think she would. She's a very competent attorney. She knows how to prove a case. She understands what's required of her in court. She's well aware of the facts necessary to sustain a conviction. She has signed the information, or her assistant, Mr. Delariondo, signed the information stating that they do have a good faith belief they can prove these charges beyond and to the exclusion of a reasonable doubt. That's really the probable cause. We don't really need the affidavit at first appearance court once the state attorney has filed an information. But she's very confident, and she can generally prove what she sets out to prove.
And she's pretty tough. I mean, when running for state attorney in 2008, Curry joked she'd even be willing to put her own mother in jail. I don't play, even when it's people in my own family. Not the kind of person you want to mess with.
She's very law and order. She's always been very anti-gun crimes and very pro-victim. What we heard last night is nothing new from Ms. Corey. She's always been devoted to victims of crime. People know her for that. That's her reputation in Northeast Florida. And she has long been an advocate for mandatory sentences for those who are involved in crimes with firearms.
Well, in fact, she's known for being close to her victims and their families. In fact, she said helping victims was a favorite part of being a prosecutor. As far back as 2002, she said this. Let me read a quote. "Without a doubt, the most rewarding part is helping victims get through the system. I can't always give each victim what they want, the maximum sentence or full monetary restitution, but I can make sure their constitutional rights are safeguarded." That's her talking about herself 10 years ago.
Yes, that's right. In Florida, the victims do have a right in criminal cases to be a participant in the process, and Ms. Corey is a very vocal proponent of that right, and she really does have an attachment to her victims, and she works hard. She puts her all into it, and she's generally very successful when she sets out with a case.
She also seems to be very moral, religious. Like she said last night, and the family told me this was so, the first thing she did after meeting the Martin family was to pray. Watch this.
Well, I'm sure you know that.
The first thing we did was pray with them. We opened our meeting in prayer. Mr. Crump and Mr. Parks were there. We did not promise them anything. In fact, we specifically talked about, if criminal charges do not come out of this, what can we help you do to make sure your son's death is not in vain? And they were very kind and very receptive to that.
You were getting ready to say?
I said, well, I'm sure you know, Reverend Sharpton, it's the South, and religion and politics often mix, and religion and the court system often mix. But I believe that Ms. Corey is very sincere. She's very active in her church. I think she's on the vestry of her church. I don't doubt her sincerity in that regard.
Well, I don't live in the South, but I've been known to pray in court, especially when I was a defendant on civil rights cases. But thank you, Teresa Sapp. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Ahead, it's called the Stand Your Ground Law, and George Zimmerman's fate may come down to the controversial Stand Your Ground Law. We look at the law's controversial history in the state of Florida, and remembering the victim. 46 days later, his killer is in jail. Trayvon's mother speaks out on what she'd say to George Zimmerman.